What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube, and today I am wrestling with myself. I haven't brought you guys a wrestling video in quite a long time. You guys know that my AEW coverage goes to Pro Wrestling Journal. I review the show every Wednesday night. It gets posted every Thursday, where I review the weekly AEW Dynamite show segment by segment. So if you guys want to see that, you can go to ProWrestlingJournal.com. There hasn't been much wrestling. Everything's been shut down since the pandemic. I hope you guys are all staying safe. But wrestling has really affected a lot of the smaller companies. The only two companies that are still running are AEW that I mentioned and WWE, which I really don't watch except for 3 times a year for the 3 big shows they do. I do watch the occasional NXT show, but it's very rare. So there's not a lot of current wrestling for me to watch outside of AEW, and there's not a whole lot to review. So I wanted to do something cool. I was feeling nostalgic, as I do every spring. I was starting to enjoy the weather, and I wanted to go back and watch some old ECW, my favorite company of all time. Those of you guys that have watched any wrestling reviews of mine in the past, I often reference ECW for a company that uses everyone to their strengths and minimizes their weaknesses, and everyone feels important and everyone's got a storyline, and Paulie Heyman, I think, is the best wrestling writer of all time, the best booker there ever was. In my opinion, ECW, in my opinion, is the best company of all time. It is a big part of my upbringing as a wrestling fan. So I went back and I watched a lot of 95 pay-per-views on the network. Really enjoyed those. Had a lot of fun watching 95, so I figured, okay, I'm going to go back and watch 98. So I watched all the 98 pay-per-views on the network, and I was looking around, what else can I watch as a throwback? And I started watching the ECW On TNN run, which is now just called ECW Wrestling on the network. So I went back and started to watch that, and I figured, well, I might as well watch the entire TNN run. I watched a few episodes and I fell in love with it again, just like I did back when I was 16, 17 years old. So I started to watch the entire TNN run, and I said, well, maybe it'd be something cool, since there's not a lot of current wrestling content out, if I did a throwback review of my impressions of the old TNN show, because I had not rewatched the TNN show since it first aired in '99. So it's been over 20 years. It's been about 21 years since I rewatched the TNN show. So I figured what I'm going to do now is rewatch ECW in that era, watch about 3 to 4 months of the show at a time, and give you guys my impressions of what was going on in the company in that 3 and 4 months, and talk about the angles, talk about what I liked and disliked from the show. So I watched, the show debuted in August of '99 with a few episodes in late August, and ran through, I think, October 7th or something of 2000. So I rewatched in really about 10 days' time or 14 days' time. I rewatched from August all the way through December of '99. So I rewatched the first 4 months of the show, and I wanted to give you guys my first of many, if you like this segment, where I review 3 to 4 months at a time of ECW on TNN. So I'm caught up through '99. I watched all the shows in '99. And I really enjoy this. I fell in love with it all over again. The one negative that I will say, my only negative impression of rewatching this show, is that WWE Network keeps the shows mostly intact. They don't change a lot of the blood. They don't cut a lot of the matches short. They keep a lot of the language and a lot of the things that made ECW special for its time. The one thing they do change is they don't have the rights to the theme song. So everyone's entrance music is some horribly overly dubbed, loud, badly synchronized, market district brand name version of the ECW things, because they couldn't use a lot of the bands that ECW used for their rock songs. So they used these badly dubbed, super loud, cheesy, horrible versions for the music. So that is the one thing, the one bad impression that I got rewatching this show, even though that's not ECW's fault. That is not the original programming they had. That's a network thing. But everything else was largely positive. Some of the things that we got from August to December of '99, the Dudley Boys leave ECW for good. They go on to WWE and obviously become one of the best tag teams of all time, but they got their start here as the heat-getting magnet heels. Bubba Ray especially, what a talker, what a presentation with all the Dudleys and Sign Guy and Joel Gertner and the whole heel act that is just amazingly ahead of its time. The Dudleys could never exist today in the business the way they did in ECW in '99. Talking about crack whores and making fun of people's parents, and talking all the profane language they used, and all the old Southern style cheap heat getting tricks they used. Amazing heels, but they left ECW, which led at the same time to the return of Raven. Raven came back to ECW after leaving WCW. He was there like within 12 hours of leaving WCW. came back to ECW to win the tag titles off the Dudleys. They were going to take the belts and go to Vince and leave in storyline. Raven comes back. Raven and Dreamer win the tag titles, and that is pretty much the #1 character arc and storyline that goes on in the first 4 months of TNN, is Raven and Dreamer being the odd couple holding the tag title. So Tommy Dreamer wins his first ever ECW championship in his entire tenure, and he does so with the help of Raven. So Raven starts coming out. Tommy gets beat up 2-on-1 in these long tag title defenses. Raven comes out at the end to save Dreamer, just to prolong Dreamer's agony. Raven helps Dreamer win and defends him only after he gets beat on, because Raven wants to prolong the agony of Dreamer holding the belts with his arch nemesis, who he's hated for years. So the wrinkles in the characters and the wrinkles in this long-time Raven-Dreamer feud go on in such a great character arc that here's Dreamer finally succeeding with the championship, but he has to do so with somebody he hates more than anybody in the world. And Raven gets this perverse joy out of helping Dreamer win just to torment him and DDT him all the time and just totally ruin his life, which starts off as a great arc. And as the 4 months goes along, there's so many threads that gets added to this feud. Raven eventually starts doing what he enjoys, or starts doing the right thing. He starts actually kind of appreciating Dreamer and appreciates what Dreamer puts up with. So Raven starts to kind of defend Dreamer and starts to become real champions with Dreamer at the same time as the Sandman comes back from WCW. So about 11 episodes in to this TNN run, the Sandman returns as well. And Raven, in spite of growing some fondness and respect for Tommy Dreamer, still hates the Sandman because they've got a feud that goes back to 95, 96, 97. And they've been feuding forever. And Sandman reminds Raven of Raven's drunk father. He's drinking beer, he's caning people, he's beating on them. He's always, they've always hated each other because Raven's past comes up when he looks at the Sandman. So Raven becomes closer to Tommy Dreamer, but still hates the Sandman. So he'll defend Tommy, but he won't defend Sandman in their 6-man tags. And Sandman canes Raven in spite of Raven doing the right thing. And Tommy Dreamer's divided between his old nemesis, who he now holds the tag titles with, and his best friend, the Sandman, who's doing the wrong thing, but for the right reason. So there's all these shades of gray and nuances in the characters. And now as I'm ending 99, toward the end of the year, Dreamer is not always defending Raven. He's busy kind of doing his own thing. But Francine starts seeing a lot of Raven's pain. She appreciates Raven doing the right thing, making sacrifices and still getting beat on. Raven trying to be a good guy. Dreamer doesn't always see it, but Francine does. So now there's a divide between Francine, Dreamer, and Raven with the Sandman involved. So all these characters from their past are all being pulled in. There's good guys doing bad things. There's bad guys doing good things. And it adds to these long-standing feuds that have lasted years and years to keep ECW's continuity. So right there, you've got continuity, you've got logic, you have character arcs, you have building story, you have other pieces coming in, which WWE does not do. And I complain about the current day lack of storytelling and characters. This is exactly why I love ECW. Also in this thread, you have the second biggest, or 1A, either 1B or part 2 of this, is the rise of the Impact players. Justin Credible and Lance Storm came in around, end of 97, kind of early 98. Credible came in as Aldo Montoya from WWE. He kind of made his own heel program at the behest of Tommy Dreamer. They feuded early on, and he kind of earned his hardcore spots through Dreamer. Lance Storm was a technician who started to cheat, but had a really good summer series and stuff with Chris Candido, had some wars with Jerry Lynn. He's a pure wrestler, he's kind of dry, but he's kind of a stick-in-the-mud kind of cheater, has Dawn Marie with him. So now Credible and Storm have formed this kind of heel duo that have kind of used their uprising stars to combine to now make a top-level heel group at the top of ECW, and they're contending now for the tag titles. They've been fighting with Sandman. Credible and Sandman have a thing going on, and the whole thing, the Impact players are being involved for the tag belts. They want to take over ECW with all the championships, and so they're doing so through Raven and Dreamer. There's a big feud going on right now. So not only do you have the existing characters with their character arcs, but you've got rising stars like Storm and Credible, and they've got their guys like Dawn Marie and Jason. They have a whole cavalcade of guys to help them win evilly too. So you've got top heels on the rise in ECW, because on top of the Dudleys leaving, you had Taz leaving as well. So you lose Taz, who loses the championship to Mike Awesome in '99 as well. So Taz goes off to WWE, which he would debut in 2000. So as you lose guys, you're building up other guys who were on the cusp, and now they're top-level guys. You get returns from Sandman and Raven, but you have guys like Credible and Lance Storm rising up as well. Also, other guys continue to fill, like Masato Tanaka comes in. And so many good Japanese people are really booked to their strengths here as well. You have guys like Super Crazy, Tajiri, Tanaka. These guys who don't, the ECW fans don't know their characters all that well, but take to them right away. They don't talk much, but they let their ring work and their toughness do the talking for them. Crazy and Tajiri come in, and this is where, as the mid-carders become main eventers, they bring new guys up into the mid-card. Guys who were kind of green and just starting on the hardcore TV stuff are now in big TNN storylines. You have the rise of the Tajiri and Crazy feud back and forth. They are doing great stuff to each other. Tajiri goes heel and aligns with a new Steve Corino who comes in and starts to get a rise, and I'll talk about him more later. You have guys like Tanaka who's challenging Awesome for the title. Mike Awesome becomes your new world champion in the three-way in '99. Now he's feuding with Tanaka. So you get, on TNN, you get these, not only do you get the build of the characters, as Tajiri goes heel, as Corino builds up, as Awesome becomes this athletic, beastly combination of power and speed as your world champion. But you're getting Awesome versus Tanaka and Tajiri versus Crazy on TNN in classic matches. RVD is still there. He and Jerry Lynn have two awesome matches on TNN. The match, I'm talking mostly about characters and roster here, but the match quality is great on TNN as well. You get long matches to cover a lot of things, but you get the emergence of a lot of guys. I talked about Crazy and Tajiri filling in. You see a couple of guys start to debut. They haven't reached their big feuds yet or their characters yet, but you see guys like Chris Chetty, Supernova, Danny Doring, Kid Cash, Roadkill. They start to debut in the undercard, and they're jobbers right now, but they're starting to rise up. One of the big things that I really enjoyed here is Rhino's emergence. Rhino came in as a bodyguard for this sniveling jobber Steve Corino at first, and Rhino shot right to the top. He started winning matches and squashes, showing his athleticism, showing his intensity, his fast, grunting promos. You believed him. He's short and stocky, but he's strong, he's mean, he's aggressive. His ring style matches his promos. He fills in nicely. And not only does he become this big bodyguard for Corino, but he starts to tag with the returning Chris Candido. He starts to go after the Sandman in a nice feud. He has some good matches with Sabu. So he starts to build his way up against the hardcore icons and wants to be a legend himself. But also, Steve Corino, they use Rhino to build up Steve Corino. He gets a few cheap wins because of Rhino, and then Corino comes into his own now at the end of '99. He just started feuding. He did the Limp Bizkit stuff where he was on stage in those big moments with Limp Bizkit and calling those guys out on stage. Then now he started to feud. He did some stuff with Tommy Dreamer where he won some cheap matches because of Rhino, and now he went on to the Dusty Rhodes feud, which is going to start here in 2000. He got laid out by Dusty, but he's paying his dues. He's getting involved with legends and entertainers. He's getting involved with big personalities. And his character, not only in his hair and the change of his tights and his look, but he's coming into his promos now too. He's starting to become a really cocky, smarmy guy who gets his ass kicked, but then he talks enough crap where he's not backing it up, so he's getting heat. But he's starting to get wins now and be associated with bigger names, so his character progresses nicely. Tanaka wins the title at the end of '99. Awesome and Tanaka always traded wins, and Tanaka gets his first win as this double tough, punishment-taking, really hard-nosed match for Awesome, which gets him into the upper echelon. And then Mike Awesome wins the belt back in the very last episode of '99. So Mike Awesome wins the championship to end the year. And then you have Akuto Hidaka, somebody I wanted to talk about. ECW always peppered in these new stars. They brought international flavor in. They brought new trainees from the House of Hardcore in. They brought all these guys in that would make up for the other stars leaving. You would see, other guys come in. Akuto Hidaka is this incredible high flyer who came in from Japan, much like Crazy and Tajiri and Tanaka did. No one knew who he was at first, but they found out real quick. He had a series of matches with Super Crazy that are bangers, just connected to the audience, very smooth, good transitions, good high flying, good matches. I wish Hidaka had stayed, and I forget why he didn't stay. He wound up going back to New Japan, I think, and didn't stay with ECW, but when he came in, he made a short impact and really impressed a hard audience in Philadelphia in New York very quickly. So I wish Hidaka was one of the ones that stayed, but all the other guys did. Super crazy and stuff. Coming into the TV title picture, guys like Cash, Crazy, Tajiri. Tajiri as a heel really responded to the crowd as well, too. You see him coming into his own, starting as a bland guy who just did a lot of kicks, and then getting more and more to his offensive arsenal, but more and more to playing with the crowd, too. Enjoying getting booed and playing with the audience and turning into a top-level heel with that group with Rhino and Carino. So heels building up their stables, building up their personas, and, filling in the roster for guys that left. So those are the main programs that you have going on. The Baldies also came in, did some good hardcore stuff with New Jack. Spike Dudley went from being a giant killer to starting his program with Mike Awesome, so he is elevated into a real program. New Jack's finally got a real program with the Baldies, so he can move forward. And they're doing stuff with Angel and DeVito, talking pretty good. Basic heel characters, not super diverse, but solid. So you're getting a lot of new blood. Maybe more new blood and more of a completion of the undercard in '99 than ECW had ever had before. They were always top-heavy and didn't always have the best undercard, and now they do. So that is basically what's going on in '99. I gotta say, the crowds are super hot. Joey Styles, in my opinion, I know people love Jim Ross, and I love Jim Ross too, but Joey Styles is my favorite commentator of all time. He's the most underrated voice in wrestling history. I love Joey Styles. I love how they're using Cyrus as the TNN manager for the network, the heel representative of the company, good talker. Joel Gertner's been involved now, turning face and doing the TNN commentary with Styles. He's been great to get the crowd going. I love what they're doing on this program. I love the look of it. I wish they had lasted longer. I wish they had the money. I wish TNN used them better. But these are the first 4 months of the show. What did you guys think? Have you guys watched the initial run of ECW on TNN, and have you watched it back ever since? Tell me in the comments below what you guys think. And do you like this kind of review, to talk about the roster and the characters and the evolution of ECW in '99? If so, I'm going to come back. I want to do 3 of these for 2000. I want to do 3-month increments of the 10 months that ECW lasted on TNN in 2000. So if you like this, tell me in the comments below. I'm going to keep reviewing wrestling and being nostalgic, guys. This has been Wrestling with myself. Stay safe. Until next time.